Keys to becoming a leader. Keys to becoming a leader. This is for housewives, students, mechanics, clerks. This session is for nursery workers, for politicians. It's for kings. This session is for secretaries. It's for masons and carpenters. How to become a leader. Leadership is very, very complicated because it is subtle. Most of the people who we call leaders are really not leaders. The problem is, if you don't know what something looks like, you can't tell it when you see it. I just said something important. In other words, if you don't know what a leader is supposed to be and look like, you can never ascertain when you saw one. So your definition and your concept of leadership is part of the problem of why we cannot find true leaders. And so this is why I use the term true leadership. If you read all of my books on leadership, you will find this term in the book. I never used the word leadership. I used the word true leadership because 90% of the leaders you call leaders are not true leaders. These are normally people who are professional manipulators. They wield power. They threaten people. They have the element of force. They can force things that go their way. They have an oppressive spirit where they withhold from you in order to manipulate you things that you want. They have the capacity to tantalize your sheepish emotions with their words. Yeah. And you call them leaders. True leadership is usually completely opposite to each of those elements. And we're going to talk about that today. I want to begin with a few comments about leadership as to what true leadership is. First, make a note of this. True leadership is not about control. It's about service. Secondly, true leadership is not about power. It's about empowerment. Most followers would say about their leader, that's a powerful person. Well, you just exposed the fact that they are not a true leader. A true leader will have followers who say the opposite. That person empowered me. That's a true leader. That person made me great. That's a true leader. But we normally say the opposite. Oh, he's a powerful preacher. Well, did he make you one? Come on now. That's the question. Number three, leadership is not about manipulation, it's about inspiration. Inspiring people is the highest form of true leadership. True leaders don't manipulate, they inspire people. Number four, leadership is really not about people. It's about purpose. I will explain all of these in this session. In other words, true leadership is not about trying to find people to follow you. True leadership is discovering a purpose that you commit to pursue. So leadership has more to do with you pursuing something than you pursuing people to follow you. True leaders, therefore, do not seek followers. And number 5, true leadership is about becoming more than doing. You know, most people that we call leaders, we describe them as doing great things. But a true leader is more about a person becoming something they discovered about themselves. They are becoming it. And in the process of becoming themselves, they inspire other people. That inspiration is what influences the people, and they submit to the leader's vision. And so these are introductory thoughts about leadership. I want to talk a little bit about the kind of leadership that's destroying our world. And I'm going to repeat this every time I speak because these thoughts are so important. Number 1, politics without principles. This kind of leadership is destroying our countries. Politics without principles. I wish I could just come here and spend a whole day on this one statement. Because this one statement summarizes most of the failure in our political arena than any other component. Politics without what? Principles. I'm going to step on a limb here, but I think it might be helpful to you. You are about to enter a period of elections. And out of 360 million people, you've come down to 2 people to choose to lead you. When I study these 2 characters, I am sorry for your country. Out of 360 million people, you couldn't find better qualities of leadership. One of my major concerns about the present leadership is this statement, number 1. That's your problem. Politics without principles. And this is what you have to deal with right now. I don't know if you are a kingdom citizen. I am not sure how you have to vote. I am praying for you. It's tough. Because the defects that exist in both are so serious that you are hard-pressed to decide between the 2. And that's because your culture, especially your political culture, does not lend itself to produce true leaders. Your culture produces deal makers. So you will compromise your principles to please some people. That's what you produce. Leaders who compromise their personal principles to please groups of people. Therefore, you are no longer a leader. You are automatically being led. This is your problem. The second leadership that will destroy us is pleasure without conscience. Third, wealth without work. This kind of system will destroy a community when people would prefer to gain wealth without effort. And this is why I have my concerns about things like lottery, gambling, because what you've developed is a culture of people who want something for nothing. You're destroying your country. Fourth component that would destroy a country is knowledge without and character, rather. You know, a lot of smart people are using their knowledge to destroy. It seems as if the more intelligent we become, the more dangerous we become. People, for example, know the system so well that they can actually end up paying no taxes because they have knowledge you don't have. And therefore, they violate character. Number 5, business without morality. This is what has destroyed our global economy lately. What have destroyed us is a few businessmen in New York saw an opportunity to make some loans to people who couldn't pay it back. And they knew they couldn't pay it back. So they were immoral in business. The rest is history. The world is still trying to recover. And number 6, science without humanity. It's good to have scientific advancement, but when you do not regulate that with conscience and humanity, the science can destroy. You know, they developed a pill that can destroy a baby in the womb if you don't want the baby. The pill can actually dissolve the baby. It's made in France. That's science without humanity. And then the last one is worship without sacrifice. That will destroy us. Worship without sacrifice. Mahatma Gandhi made these statements, and I love what he says here. He says, if we pursue God without willing to sacrifice personal pleasure, we are destructive. I think we've seen this in our experience, especially in what you call religion. Great spiritual leaders who claim to worship God at the highest level, but they cannot keep their zipper up. They cannot sacrifice self-discipline. That's destroying us. We need to listen to this list every day. Listen to it. Let it talk to you. And then measure your leaders against it after you measure yourself against it. Leadership. Let's talk a little bit about politics. Here's a guy you all know well. Politics without principles. The kind of leaders we need. Well, let me begin by talking about politicians a little bit, because some of you are politicians. We don't need more politicians in leadership. We got enough of them. What we need is leadership in politicians. That statement sounds very simple, but it's not. I deal with politicians very often. Most of my work now is with political leaders all over the world. When I leave here tomorrow, I'm on my way to South Africa. I'm going to the Congo. I'm going to Zambia. I'm going to Zimbabwe. And all of my meetings with these countries is with the politicians. I'm going to be facilitating leadership training with leaders of countries. And I am amazed when I sit with these people in a room just like this. Sometimes it's 500 of them. They shut the government down. And I talk with them and I begin to teach on leadership. Some of them actually begin to weep in the session. Powerful men, women, they weep. Because when I'm halfway through my seminar, they realize they are not leaders. They are power-hungry people. Or they have defects like low self-esteem, suffering from poor self-concept and trying to compensate for it through power. Don't ever believe that a politician is a leader. Don't ever believe that. Because the system that we have produces politicians. It doesn't produce leaders. And so you can have a politician who knows nothing about leadership, and he's leading you. What we need is more leadership in the politician, which is something that needs to be taught and trained in that person. As a result of this leadership empowerment conference, I am hoping that you will be qualified to go into politics in your local community, because your motivation will be correct. Here's another one to remember. Politicians are concerned about the next election. That's all they're interested in. That's why they cannot be leaders. But leaders are different. Leaders are concerned about the next generation. I want you to compare those two thoughts the next time you have a politician come to your house wanting to vie for your vote. Just ask him, what is your vision for my children? I will sit and listen for 20 minutes for you to tell me what it is. He will leave your house because he has no interest in your children's children. His concern is to stay in power, to keep the position, to win the next election. This is why they cannot lead. Because leading requires following your own convictions, not the popular interests. And right away, you cannot lead if you want to be re-elected. And that leads me to point number 5. True leaders focus on purpose, passion, principles, the interests of the people, and vision. When you are going to have a conversation with a politician, you should actually try this as a test. You, by the way, as a citizen of a community, you have a right to be seen by the mayor. I hope you know that. If you voted for a mayor, the mayor works for you. Therefore, you have a right to see him. You can make an appointment to see any public officer you voted for. Did you know that? That's your legal right. If he don't want to see you, you can take him to court. That's democracy. So I want you to make an appointment to go and see your mayor or go and see your governor and just sit and say, I want 30 minutes with you, sir. And ask him about that list right there. Sir, what is your purpose for being in leadership in this city? What is your purpose? The first question will make him very nervous. Second question, what is your passion for our community? He'll be wondering what you're talking about. What are you talking about? I just want to build roads and bridges and provide jobs. No. What is your passion? And then the third one is the most dangerous one. What are your principles of leadership? Things you won't violate. What are your standards that you have observed in your life that you will never break? These are the issues of true leadership. And this is why we need to question the leaders we have. And so I have a little thought here. I call it politics versus leadership. Let's talk about it for a second. Number 1, politicians focus on programs, not vision. Number 2, politicians' priority is securing the next election, not securing the next generation. Their focus is different. Number 3, politicians are preoccupied with promises, not purpose. So they make you promises, right? We'll provide jobs for you. That's a promise. We'll provide free education for your children. That's a promise. We will cut taxes. That's a promise. We will give free high school diplomas, and we will give free college tuition. Promises. They never talk about purpose. And purpose is the foundation of leadership. Number 4, politicians think of the next election all the time. Anytime you talk to them, they're thinking about, how can I secure my seat? They will do anything you want them to do. This is why the fringe groups in your society are having such an effect. You got 10% of the population of your country making 80% of the laws because they probably got 90% of the resources. In other words, politics is for sale. It's not for leadership. What we need is statesmen, stateswomen. We don't need more politicians. A statesman is an interesting human. A statesman think of the next generation. You know, I had an opportunity to speak to Ambassador Andrew Young yesterday, and we were chatting on the phone, you know, and he and I have become good friends. As a matter of fact, I think he's planning to be here tonight to be with me, and it'll be good for you to hear him talk a little bit. But when you talk to a guy like this, he's a statesman. He thinks about the history all the time. He thinks about how the history affects the children that are unborn and whether they will appreciate what happened. That's a statesman. He thinks about heritage and destiny. Wow, that's a rare leader. By the way, this list can be applied to pastors, because most pastors are politicians. I call them spiritual politicians. The list is the same. They are concerned about staying a pastor more than they are about making you the future pastor. They protect the pulpit from you. They actually lie on God by saying things like, don't touch God's anointed. I wonder what they mean by that. It's a ploy to threaten you. Don't touch me, even if I'm wrong. Always remember that King Saul was fired before he left the company. That's a deep statement. So we need help, don't we, in leadership right now. Everything I've said, I see you nodding your heads because you know someone right in your environment that lines up with those lists, right? Yeah, that tells you that you are a smart person. You already know something was wrong. I just told you what they are.
Yep, you did. Reveal it. Hallelujah.
Now let me tell you why we got these kinds of leadership, these kind of leaders. I'm going to go back to history. This is a picture of Caesar. I put him in the background for a reason.